Unapologetic. It means not apologizing for your greatness. Here, we unpack the inner workings of our greatest creatives. From authors, musicians, filmmakers, painters. We even talk a little sports. And sometimes there's poetry in motion on that ball court and that football field. We speak about the lifestyle, the culture, and the overall way of life that is known as hip-hop. We even touch on some current events and situations that affect the culture as well. All in all, this is Unapologetic, and I'm your host, Elijah Foreman. Let's get it started. Yes, this is Elijah Foreman, and this is the Unapologetic Podcast At the Table edition. You guys already know what I do with the At the Table edition of the show. This is where I bring a lot of my peers and some people that are responsible for me being in the industry, and I just have fun. We talk about careers and everything there is to know about the particular person. This week is a treat because this is a person that I met when I was 22, 23 in 2015. And at that time, as most people know, I was signed to Alicia Howard. She was my first publisher. And we were getting ready to go into a different shift when it comes down to her company. We weren't a part of Bankroll Squad anymore. She was doing a lot of things on her own. And she started bringing in a lot of big name authors to us, at least. And this was one of them. She's coming from Baltimore, Maryland. She started self-published with her first book called Never Trust a Soul. That was in early 2015. And then she came to us in the summer. And from that point on, she already knew what she wanted to do. She had a game plan, and she pushed that game plan to the best of her abilities. And I was there to see it all at the time. So if y'all don't know who I'm talking about yet, her name is Aisha Lynn. What's going on with you?
Hi, what's up? It's actually Aisha Linnea.
Linnea. See?
Yes.
It's been that
Yes.
long. It's been that long. See,
Yes.
the thing about it is, when Aisha first came around, I was the youngest of the bunch because Alicia found me when I was like 21. So everybody else that came in, being that Alicia looked at me as little bro, most people looked at me as little bro too. So Aisha came in and we used to talk all the time. And, you know, we always had that dialogue as like a brother-sis relationship. And I'm going to let you know right now, it's a few dudes, Aisha, you ain't never know this. It's a few dudes that saw some pics on that page from my city and was crushing heavy. I had a couple fights over you, couple near fights. Like, hey, listen, we not gonna do that. That's my sis. Stick to the girls that's out here, man. We ain't gonna do that. You know what I mean? Plus, that's Baltimore right there. So if you get in the wrong situation with her, hey, that's the wire. I can't help you.
Absolutely.
I got two arms. Anybody get past that, then hey, you better know how to fight.
Right. Better. They better.
Definitely. Man, let's just start from the beginning, man. What was your influences early on coming up from Baltimore? I'm definitely interested to know that. What were some of your early influences?
My early influences was always like, you know, the Baltimore author, Shannon Holmes.
Okay.
Shannon Holmes and of course Sister Soldier. Like that was probably like my first urban fiction book. Sister Soldier. You know, look, I'm doing so much today I can't even think straight. But yes, like her book, and then I rolled over into Shannon Holmes, and he's actually doing like some recruitment for a movie for Be More Careful.
I saw that. Recently on social media.
Yep. He's doing some recruitment for like a movie, so to speak, for some parts for that book. But yeah, those were like my initial inspiration. You know, when you read it, you get so excited and you just see and read some of the things that you're familiar with, kind of growing up with, being from Baltimore, like you said, the Wire and all of that. Like you just see so many things that's familiar in like urban fiction books, and those two were my top inspiration. And then from there, I think I went on to read like Dutch and all of that. Like those really like
Mm-hmm.
pushed me in. And I was like, yeah, watch, I'm gonna write me a book. I'm gonna write me a book one day. Watch, based on my life.
That's
So
dope, man.
yeah, yeah, that's what inspired me to start writing. Like it took me a really long time because I remember like just starting to type some things up like early, like let's say 90, 98. Like my
Wow.
daughter was
Okay.
born in like 98 and my son was born in 2001, and I took like a long break from like actual work, and I
Mm-hmm.
used to sit in the house on a computer and just type up all kinds of crazy stuff. And I was
Right.
like, I use that for the basis to start my own thing.
That's amazing, man. I mean, me and Shannon Holmes, I've never met him before, but there's a different connection when it comes to him because he's responsible for Wahida Clark. And Wahida
Right,
Clark is a direct inspiration for me.
right,
You know what I mean? So we all come from that tree, man. Shannon Holmes is one of those guys. Him and I think Carl Weber
right.
are
Yep,
the two that really, kind of sprouted us all in a way.
yep,
So
yep.
definitely salute
What,
to
what
him.
was what was the book subscription back in the day? We used to get all the books, 6 books for 1 cent or something like that.
Oh
What
man.
was it called? That's when I started just going in and reading all of the books, all of them, everything.
I know exactly what you're talking about. I cannot think of the name right now. Cause I was young
Yeah, I
back
can't
then.
think.
I was a teenager, so
Yeah, I'm
wow.
telling you, that was around the time when I had my oldest son in 2001, and like you get the 6 books for 1 cent or whatever it was, and I would just stay home and read all of the books. Just sit on the couch, read a book in a day in a few hours.
That was a different time, man. It was a different time. I
Yeah,
mean, we're grateful for Kindle and everything that came with Kindle and the opportunities that we got. But if you're born between like the 80s and like maybe 93, 94, if you're born in that era, then you know about going to the library and picking
yes,
up your favorite book from your favorite author. Or you know
right,
about, you know, before Barnes and Nobles, like Borders and some of the neighborhood bookstores that was around. Definitely the bookstores like out in Philly that still ship to prisons and things of that nature. That's where we come from.
right.
That's how we were able to get some of these books and learn about some of these authors. So, Amazon just took it to a different level. But before
Yeah,
then, that's how we was getting our stuff. If you wasn't near a bookstore, you wasn't able to get it. So definitely, I remember that. Man, so tell me about the process that you went through when you dropped Never Trust a Soul. That was your first book. So when you finally decide to put a book out, what made you decide on that book and what was the process?
just some life experiences that I had went through, and I felt as though like people should hear about them. Like it's a fictional book, but it is based on some real life experiences. Um, that whole process, like I said, I had started like typing up stuff in my desktop computer at the time, and I just kept saving the information and saving it, and it was just kind of like all pieced together. It was like all over the place. And when I started to like, yeah, you know what, I'm gonna start trying to, really put this together or whatever the case may be. So I didn't even have like the background of the process of just writing a book. So the first thing I want to say, like, how did I even reach this person? So the first editor that I ever went through, her name was Jackie Chanel. I don't even remember how I got linked up with her, which is crazy, but I sent her all my junk. And when I say it was junk, it was just all over the place. It was just a mess. She she put that thing together. Like she went in and did all the errors. She did like content editing. She did every kind of editing known to man on that book, right? And then she gave me the basis of like, no, this is how many words that you, at bare minimum, you want to have a 50,000 words for your first book, and then she just really went through the whole process of how I should write it, the timeline, told me what didn't make sense. And I mean, she went in. And just from that process alone, she taught me, like, because I learned quickly from experiencing it. Like, you can talk to me about it all day long, but until I actually go through the process, I really don't grasp it. But she really took me through that process. And just from that particular one edit, I learned the ropes of writing a book. I follow her format every time I wrote a book. So I went through her. She sent all the edits back. I basically took the book apart and rewrote the whole thing based on everything she told me. And then from that, I just went. I really wasn't familiar with, like, the online thing, the just put it on the digital book on Amazon, and I wasn't familiar with that process. So I was going through, the old process, actual paper books, really out in my city, really promoting it that way, having a book release party, just going through that whole process of just having people to buy my book from me, or just, going online, ordering it from the prisons and that kind of thing. I wasn't really familiar with, like, the whole Amazon process at that stage in the game. So I wrote out that whole book, went through the process, and that first book really basically taught me the ropes of how to go into the next thing. And that's when I started, like, really going into the community of book writers on Facebook. And once I went through that whole process, started meeting people and just networking and talking, they invited me to the book awards. It was like the AAMBC, I think that's what it was.
Yeah, that's Tamika Newhouse's
Yep.
business.
So I reached out to her, right? And she did some promotions for me for my book or whatever. And then that's when they had the first one. And I went to Atlanta, and then I just started meeting everybody. And then from there, that was it. People just started sending me messages like, you could publish with me. I can help you with this. And that, the rest is really history.
That's dope, man. And one thing that I want to see us do as authors that I haven't really seen get done yet. Like, I'm a 90s baby, so I remember when, rappers would have these big tours. Like, I remember the Hard Knock Life tour when, like, Jay-Z, DMX, Method Man, Redman, or even like the Up and Smoke tour when Dre and Snoop took Eminem and Ice Cube. They went on tour. I haven't seen a group of authors really do that. And I know it's going to cost a lot to do, but I feel like if you get a good 7 or 8 of us and we're able to pull in our own money, it ain't got to be no big 50, 60 city tour. That's not going to happen out the gate. But if you give us like 8 or 9 people and we all hit each one of those cities that we're from, that would be a good look. You think, like, you're from Baltimore, I'm from Jersey. You get somebody from Cali, you get somebody from Atlanta, get somebody from Chicago or Detroit, and you hit these cities. That would be a good look for the culture to me, because nobody's doing it yet. Wahida Clark and Kawan, they've tried. And, that's where the Harlem Book Fair came from. They're really big in that, realm of things as far as the book fairs and stuff like that go. I feel like if we really took that on the road, that would be dope. And it doesn't necessarily have to be us, but it's just like authors in general, just to get more eyeballs on the product. Because I'm let people know we got the internet on smash right now, but still in all, getting the overall experience back, like you was just saying, with the paperbacks and actually meeting people and sitting down and having discussions and talking about the story versus, just going on live. And although that's a good experience, or Zoom, sometimes people want to touch the person. They want to meet the person, face to face and things of that nature. So hopefully when COVID clears up a little bit more within the next year or two, because it ain't going nowhere no time soon, hopefully that can happen, because I'd definitely be all for it. Now, you go from Never Trust a Soul, you go to the awards, You meet all these people. How do you come across Aisha Howard? And how do you guys connect?
I can't even remember. Like I said, it just was like so many people that I was talking to at the time. And as a matter of fact, like I remember now. So, when I met David Weaver when I was out of town, and we kind of like exchanged some messages, and I was, signed over to him.
Mm-hmm.
But at the time, like he had so many authors or whatever, he really couldn't meet my needs like on a personal level that I was looking for.
Yeah, he
And
had a
so
lot of people.
that's how I met Aisha. And me and Aisha started talking back and forth, and she was like, I can help you with this and that sort of thing. And so it just like, she formed her own group of people, and then I met her group of people, and that's how me and you met.
Right. One thing about Aisha, man, I tell people all the time, Aisha was one of those people that was the live wire. I used to call her, like how they used to call Eve back in the day, they used to call her the pit bull in the skirt.
Yes.
That was Aisha 1000%.
Right.
It didn't matter if she didn't like you per se or if she fucked with you 100%. Like family.
Right.
You set her off in the wrong direction, you're going to have a problem.
Yep.
And I feel like that was Aisha's strong suit. And at the same time, through certain people, that was Aisha's downfall because Aisha was talented, bro. And there were a lot of people that was against Aisha at certain times because, they may not agree with how she does business.
How she did business, right.
Or they may not get along with her in that moment. And it was tough. Like I watched a lot of people try to tear Aisha down to the point where she just said, forget it. And she was just done.
Yeah, like that definitely, the stuff that started happening in a book industry, like could really make you or break you. Like, again, I went strong for probably like 4 or 5 books in.
Mm-hmm.
And when you really try to spread your wings, you really have to be careful of those people that you're spreading your wings with, because like I said, I had went into, opening, doing my own publishing and publishing for other people and really helping them. Because like I said, once I got that process of going through the editing and all of that kind of stuff, the content editing, I really had it down pat. And I would help, people always say, how do you, how you write a book, how you do this, how you do that. And so many people started doing that. So I just started saying, okay, look, I can help you. But if I help you, you basically won't have to come up under my publishing.
Yeah.
So I helped, a lot of people with constructing their books. And then at the same time, while like, again, meeting people in different states and just really talking to them virtually and helping them virtually. One person that I met, that's the person that really just like made me say F everything, because they was a fraud. Like, I really, really helped that person. They were, they had good ideas, but when it came down to going through the process of editing, they was just too gung ho. Like, they didn't want it. They felt as though they didn't need editing, and just basically everything that we worked towards, they basically just went on and published it unedited.
Yeah, I think that's more of an ego thing, because I know a lot of authors that do that too.
And then the same person went on to steal other people's books. Ooh. Like, what was it? Wattpad went on there and stole somebody all of their work and presented it out there as their own.
Wow.
That's how bad, like, they wanted to get the notoriety of writing a book without actually doing the work.
Yeah,
so that really what took me out of it.
The era that we came up in, I tell people this all the time, like, it's almost like if you watch an NBA game today, but you remember back in the day how popular street ball was and the guys that was doing all the tricks in the park. When it comes down to us, you have the contemporaries, but when it comes down to urban, the vibe is different. Our vibe is completely different. And it's like the same way that you can sit at a barbecue with us and we'll just be shooting the shit with you and talking and you'll just be having fun. That's the kind of fun you'll have reading one of our books.
Right.
And people on the outside looking in, they really wanted that. They really wanted that notoriety. Like, a lot of us, bro, for lack of a better term, we was hood famous and hood rich out here. Like
Mhm.
you get a book that sells a certain amount of copies, you getting a certain amount of money monthly
Right.
from Amazon, and that's just off ebooks. This is before Kindle Unlimited, where now you can get paid off of the pages that are read.
Right.
That's a
Right.
totally different stream of income.
Yep.
But back then we were just getting paid off of how many people bought the book.
Right.
You know what I mean? So then you got that, and then you got the paperback vibe too. You know, I had people running up on me every other day. Like I remember when Maker Cream came out. This is 2015. I had a 13-year-old kid run up on me and tell me that he read this book. And it's like at the time, I'm teaching at the Trenton Board of Education. I'm a teacher assistant. I did that for 10 years.
Mhm.
And on my way to work, it's like a Wednesday. This kid is on his way to school. And he bumps into me and he's like, man, I know you. I read one of your books or whatever. And I'm like, which one you read? Because none of my books are for kids under 18.
Right.
Clearly, you getting ready to walk to a junior high school. So you nothing older than 14. And when he told me what he read, I'm like, how did you get that book? And he told me, well, you know, I stole my mom's Kindle. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I grabbed her Kindle off the nightstand or whatever, and I just checked out a couple books. I'm like, so you stole your mom's Kindle and you
Right.
read my book. So now I'm torn because I want to say thank you, but this is a kid, bro. Like, so I ended up saying, tell your mom I said thank you, but next time, grab something that's a little better for your age bracket, bro. You a little too young for what I
Right.
write. But you know,
Right.
that was like 2017 when that happened. But it's like, man, that was the time though. So you have a lot of people who may have been a reader for like 5 years, 10 years, especially in the David Weaver and Leo Sullivan era. You know,
Right.
they started off as fans. So after reading so many books in a long period of time and then watching enough of these shows that are on TV, you think you can do it. So you
Mhm.
start doing it. And then you'll find out anywhere between being in the middle of writing the book or now having to get it edited that this ain't really what you thought it was. This is a process when it comes down to the behind the scenes stuff. And that's what trips a lot of people up. I've seen people put a book out that was completely unedited and just no type of structure. And then
Right.
you wonder why you got 10 one-star reviews. You might need to go back to
Yep.
the drawing board and figure that out. You know what I mean? And a lot of people don't know how to take criticism.
Exactly.
And that was my problem coming up. Like, of course I was young, 21, 22, but in the beginning, I really didn't know how to take criticism. I always thought people was
Mhm.
hating. And that's
Right.
that's
Right.
the worst thing you can think. When somebody's hating, why would a person that has 20 books under their belt and of those 20 it's like 12 number ones, why would they hate on you? What would be the reason? You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So yeah, man, that's an issue. It's a lot of people out here that think they could do what we do, and when they try it, they fall flat on their face.
Yeah.
You know, so that's
Yep.
definitely an issue there. But man, the first book that I saw from you, and this is around the time where me and you were talking. I don't know if you remember the vibe with Alicia Howard Presents. We would
Mhm.
all tell each other that we're working on something, but we never told each other what it was until the cover dropped.
Right.
So I remember the day, what was it? Two Rich Niggas, One Baddie. I remember the day the cover dropped, and I'm like, oh, she going there. Okay. Because at this time, I was
Mhm.
a little bit in limbo. Like I had just put out Maker Cream 1,
Right.
and Alicia threw me right back in the lab to do part 2. So in the midst of doing part 2, I'm quiet. Like part 1 is doing what it's doing, and everybody's checking for that. But now I'm in the background just waiting to see who's next. And when that
Right.
cover came out, I said, "Oh, she about to start something."
Mm.
I said, "Okay."
Yes, I had so much fun writing that book.
What's the story behind that one? What was your process?
Life experience.
Pretty much, right?
That's all I can say. Life experience.
That's how
So
it comes
anytime
down.
that I sit down and like really, really like write a book, it's about something that happened to me or maybe something that happened to somebody else that I know. And then I'll take the story and I'll exaggerate it to the fullest extent of exaggeration, so
Right.
that people will read it to make it, have all of its drama points.
Hmm.
But yeah, like that basically, a situation that I was familiar with at the time, and I just basically wanted to write about it. And I even I even remember um the guy that I was one of the guys I was dealing with at the time. And he was helping me write it.
Oh wow. Okay.
He was giving me all these ideas. It was so funny. But yeah, that it was me, like me and my girlfriend, Mahogany. Like she was with me from day one on every book.
Shout
Day
out to
one on every
Mahogany.
book.
Shout out
Yes,
there. I
day
haven't
one on
talked to her in
every
a
book.
while.
Yes, we used to go back and forth. Like I'm talking about 5, 6 in the morning. I'm getting up, like I'm typing, and we going through it. Look, she's taking every note or anything that I ever said, and then just sending it right back to me in a text. Like, if you said this, that, and the third, you're gonna write it out like this, and this is gonna be the end result. So yeah, like I remember when we wrote that book, it was just so much fun when I wrote that one. It was so hilarious at the time. Like, oh man.
That's dope, man. I mean, 2015 and 2016 was probably the most fun I had being an author,
Mhm.
and it was
Yep.
also some of the most pressure that I received as an
Right.
author because you can be in the middle of a book and it's like you got Demetria over here from Detroit. You got Aisha over here in Baltimore. You got I don't know if you remember Shona, who was
Yep.
the
Yep.
she wrote a lot of church based books. You
Yeah. Me and Shauna met up a couple times. That was my girl.
Yeah, you got her over here, and then I remember when Amira Cooper came around. She's from Jersey.
Yep, that was my girl. That was another one. We used to go back and forth. Like we used
Yeah,
to go back and forth reading each other's work before it got published and just giving out input to each other. She was a real help.
shout out to her. Me and her was real cool at the time as well. And like you got all these different people around, and it's like, man, if I mess this up, I might be on the back burner.
Mhm.
So I gotta come with it. Gotta come with it every single time. And I just remember that being probably one of the best times of being an up and coming author. Wasn't a whole lot of money, but the money we were making, we enjoyed making that money because we knew we earned it.
Right.
We knew we earned it
Right.
at the time. And I always tell people, man, I was around the right people. I was around the right
Yep.
people, and it was more or less me just being in my own way a lot of times. Like
Right.
I could have been a podcaster years ago because I had certain people around me that was already doing it. Alicia had a show years ago, and it kind of segues into Broads Talk Live.
Yep.
I was a guest on that show, and it was just
Yes.
like I don't know. I guess I didn't understand it at first, but it took me to have to deal with COVID. When COVID hit, I remember the entire year of 2020 just watching podcasts and
Yep.
like Drink Champs and $1 million worth of game. Mike Tyson has a podcast now. T.I. had a podcast. And it was a few others. Joe Budden's podcast. I watched that a lot. And after a while, I just said, man, you know what? I could do that. You know what I'm saying? Like, I really don't know what I'm going to talk about yet, but I could do that. Not knowing that I had somebody next to me who was listening. And, by that Christmas, my lady bought me the microphone that I'm using now. And
Mhm.
she brought me a camera and a set of headphones. And that was
Right.
really the start. And then some time went by and I got my mixer and started linking up with the network that my show is on. And then,
Mhm.
that was it at that point.
Right.
But man, if I didn't have those moments of just sitting home during COVID, I probably would have never, got into it. But
Yep.
this is why I say, you're an innovator for a lot of different reasons because Bras Talk Live, y'all saw it early.
Yep.
Y'all saw it early, like you, Mahogany, and the whole team. So how did that come about? Because that was a fun show when y'all had me on that. And how was that?
So, in the whole theme of book writing, I met this guy that I used to work with at Comcast, and he, was going through the process of writing a book, and he actually had a podcast, and so he invited me on to do his podcast with him, and just to do an interview or whatever. And so when I went and saw the whole process of what they was doing, I was like, oh man, we could do this, like. And so the guy that he was doing the show under, um, we talked to him more. And he was like, "Oh no, like, I got a whole network. I know how to do this. We can start it up." So, um, I recruited my two people, two outspoken females, and I was like, "Look, we're gonna start it. We're gonna try it, from our house one day." The guy had all the equipment, his name Mike. He's still doing podcasts to this day. He came to my house and we went through the whole process. We did one show or whatever. And from that point he was like, "Oh no, I like y'all vibe, whatever. Like y'all can actually do this, y'all can come to my house. I already had it set up in the basement. We can, have it scheduled, y'all can get serious about it." So from there we just started look, they sent me the format of how to write out a show. Look, I'm already writing books. I'm like, all right, I can do this. This ain't nothing.
Right,
This is
exactly.
just another form of this topics that that is discussed in books anyway. And so like I started doing the format of everything, and we just followed the format. And Mike was the truth, still is the truth. The only reason why we stopped doing the show is because Mike was here in Baltimore. He moved to North Carolina. Him and his family moved to North Carolina, and at that
Okay.
point we didn't have it figured out how to do it with him being in North Carolina. And so, like, we revisited it a couple of times, like recently, about just reviving the show because people still talk to us about it.
Man,
Like,
y'all better do a Zoom with him and figure out what y'all need to do, what equipment y'all need, and get back to it.
yeah, like at this point, it's like he's like, "Oh no, y'all can do it now. I can do it. I figured out where y'all could be there and I can be here," because
Right.
he really had it. He really had it down pat. The sound effects, everything. Like he really had it down pat. We just worked so well together.
Listen, man, I remember y'all helped me break Maker Cream. Cause at that
Mhm.
time, when we put the book out, all we had was really like Facebook groups.
Yep.
And, just doing a little bit of Instagram, but Instagram wasn't really jumping yet. So it
Right.
was mainly Facebook. So when I
Yep.
did that show, that was just us just being goofy.
Yep.
Y'all had a subject that was tailored for Maker Cream, and then
Yep.
y'all was coming at me because I was young. I was 23, so y'all like, what you know about making a female cream and all this and that. So I remember that was definitely fun, man. That was a good
Yes,
time.
yes. We used to have so much fun doing them times. Like, and again, like a lot of those subjects really helped me to pour into my books. Like, because that's where the motivation came from. Like, look, we can talk about books. We can bring authors on. We can pose this topic and see what the responses are of people, and I can put that in books, basically.
Definitely. Definitely. Y'all shows needed for us because I've seen a lot of different people that are creating podcasts and are doing podcasting now, bringing authors on. Like I'm actually a co-host for a show with Mona called
Mhm.
Literary Talks with Mona, and that's on Blog
Okay.
Talk Radio right now. We do it every Wednesday and Saturday. So that one's really moving. I think she's only like 15 episodes in, but that one's
Mhm.
moving fast. And then there's a couple of authors that I interviewed that brought me on their show, like Untamed. She has a show. And
Mhm.
there's another young lady whose episode is getting ready to drop that has a show she wants me to come on. So, this is the time for us. A lot of the podcasts that I watched in 2020, those were mainly based off of sports and music. So when it comes down to our vibe, y'all gotta come back, man, because that was definitely, the vibe back then. And I feel like right now with everything that's going on in the world, y'all attack different subjects from a different angle than a lot of other people. Wasn't always about an author or a particular book. Sometimes y'all would just jump on the air and, it was a mass shooting the day of the school. Let's talk about it.
Yep.
Or, you know what I mean? Like something happened on the news today with a celebrity. We like, let's talk about it.
Yeah.
And, the vibe was already, natural. Wasn't nothing forced about that show.
Right.
So, listen, man, the door's wide open for y'all.
Yeah, we just used to have our topics, and we just used to be like, all right, we just gonna go in on a topic. It's just all doors and avenues is open. We didn't have nothing scripted at all. Like, this is the topic. Let's just go in on it.
Definitely. And one topic for sure that I feel like y'all would have a ball with. Once again, like I told you, you're an innovator. I don't know if you saw this, but a book you put out has become a worldwide issue. We just talking about Instagram. That thirst trap.
Oh, thirst trap, yeah.
Man, that book came out, 2016?
I think so. I didn't even finish the last installment to that book. Like that, like I said, that was just another thing. Like just seeing people and knowing people, like taking the thirst trap to the next level. Like, man, like, and I advertised that joint on the right place, on the Shade Room.
Yeah,
Man,
I remember that.
Man, that thing took off.
Did you see that
People would still be
becoming
sending me messages about that book.
right? Did you see that becoming what it is now, 6 years later?
Yeah, really, because like I said, anything that I did, I took it and made it an exaggeration. So I saw the vision of where people was going with that. I saw it, like, down to the point of OnlyFans. You feel me? Like, they just...
Right. I mean, from Instagram to Snapchat, and then now they got something called Snapchat After Dark.
Oh, Lord.
They tried to do an Instagram After Dark, but I don't know if people really bought into that.
No, they in too deep now. I can't. Yeah. I don't even have time. Look, I don't even have time for that kind of stuff. Like, it's like I want to sit down and write so bad. Like, right. I just do not have the time. Everybody like, you need to go ahead and put it out. You need to put a book out. Like, I really want to do that because I definitely have the motivation and the backstory to do something else.
Right.
But I just do not have the time that I want to put into it. Like, the time that I put into that, like, it literally takes away from everything else. And I'm actually in the process of opening up a new restaurant. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I just don't have the time to really, really put into it like I want to.
Well, that's the perfect segue to get towards the end of the interview, man. Listen here. England Eatery. I remember, see, this is the thing that a lot of people don't know about me. I've been in a position where I saw stuff early. I remember when you was just doing the dinners.
Right.
Super early on. And you would post everything. And listen, I still need my pineapple with the grilled shrimp.
Yeah, that's where it started, from the daggone pineapples. And pineapples just went crazy. Man. They went crazy. And from that point, I was like, oh, man, like,
listen,
I can make some money off of this, like.
If I was closer to you, I would have been had one. But see, you work all crazy hours, and so do I. So we never had a chance to link yet. But I'm coming. I'm going to let you know that. I'm coming.
Yeah, so, yeah, like that. That was like a transition for me writing books, because I, like, most people think that, you go through like your relationship problems and whatever, that's like motivation to write a book, but you really got to fight your way out of your mind to get that stuff on paper. You know what I'm saying? So
right.
it like, and so at that time it gave me like writer's block. Like I couldn't even put nothing on paper. Like the problems that I was having at the time, like it was relationship problems, and it was just like so unbelievable that I really couldn't even put it onto paper. I was just like, man, this is crazy. So me going into cooking, that was like the therapy for me. Just being able to cook and, people really just, seeing a reaction of people just loving the food. Like, we want more.
Yeah,
So it turned into that. It's like, what I'm saying, when you get into certain relationship problems, it feels like you literally fighting for your life in your mind.
that's how it is,
In your
man.
mind, you literally just fighting for your life. And you really, at the time, the publisher that I was like working with, she was like, this is great material for you to write. Don't let it take you down. And I'm like, listen, I hear what you're saying, but I'm going to have to take a step back. And ever
Right.
since then, I've been rocking and rolling with the food.
I mean, that's
Rocking
how
and
it
rolling with
is.
the food.
That's how it is.
Yeah.
A lot of people got mad at me because the entire year of 2021, I really didn't write.
Mm-hmm.
I might have put one book out. And that's because I found podcasting. And it's like, for most people, a book is going to take about a month to complete. Writing, getting it edited, getting a cover, things of that nature. Most people it's going to take 30 days, some people 30 to 60 days to complete a book. Podcasting, I can do 5 episodes in a day.
Mm-hmm.
All I got to do is have my equipment and, just know what I'm talking about. Sometimes I don't know what I'm talking about. I just turn my mixer on. Let's go.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And it was just something that I took to and I just got good at fast. And now it's like I'm up to about 53 episodes now. So,
Okay.
it's just something that started as a hobby in a sense. And now I'm starting to see the business behind it.
Right.
So, I definitely see where you're coming from. I definitely do. I'm just now spinning the block and trying to get back into writing. But,
Yep.
when you love it,
Yep.
sometimes you got to step away from it because if you do too much of it, it becomes, I don't want to say
Yeah.
boring, but it can get stale.
Yeah. It becomes real mechanical.
Yeah. And then it starts to
Like,
feel like a job.
yep.
And that's what you don't
Exactly.
want.
So I definitely wasn't trying to force it. So here I am. I just closed down my first small cafe, and
Hmm.
I'm in the process of reopening a bigger, better location. Um, it's going to have like event space and everything.
Wow.
And I always tie that to books. Of
Right.
course, I'm gonna have like some type of book release up in there. I'm gonna support authors to come in and have their book release parties. Like that's what I'm aiming for. That's what I wanted for the first space, but it was just like too small, to be able to accommodate that. But the place that I'm going into now, I'm going to be able to accommodate that. So I'm definitely leaning towards like, look, I'm going to get this part together, and then I'm going to go in and I'm going to write. I'm going to write Never Trust the Soul 2, the final of Never Trust the Soul 2, because I'm telling you, I've been through some stuff
Right.
from that time. Like I said, from that relationship to what I'm going through right now, man. I got some stuff for the ear.
That's amazing, man. Listen, I'm all for it.
And my network is bigger. So I built the book network, and then I
Definitely.
built the restaurant and food network, bigger, way bigger, more ears. And then when I tell people like, yeah, I wrote books, they're like, what you did? What? I'm like, yeah, like, check me out, on Amazon. I'm telling you, it's real. So now I'm ready. I'm ready to come back into the book fold at the same time, doing both of them together.
And that could be the space for Bros Talk Live too.
Yep, of course. Like so, with Broad Talk Live, I'm not going to be as into it as I was before. I'm
Hmm.
gonna pass the torch to Mahogany because that is really her thing. She loves to talk. She loves to talk her shit. So I'm like, you run it, and I hop on it.
Right.
You
That's
run it, I'll
amazing.
hop on it.
That's amazing, man. I love it. I love it. And I really do see that expanding because, like I said, I saw it from the beginning. So to see where you at
Hmm.
now is like, it's no shock to me. You know, I saw it when you were just doing the dinners and just taking pictures.
Right.
To where like now you start off with the small cafe, now you got the bigger building. Who knows, man? You might be doing food trucks soon. You know,
Yeah.
that's the new wave. A lot of people are
Yeah.
doing the food
I'm
trucks.
trying to go on tour.
Right. All these different events that happen in the summer, man, especially in the tri-state area, you know, these different parades and stuff like that, man, that's money.
Right.
That's money right there. So listen, you got my support 1,000%. You know, little bro ain't so little no more. I'm about to turn 30 this year. So but I'm still little bro to you, man. You still big sis. So I love everything you're doing. And you know, I applaud it. I applaud it because I know where we started at.
Right.
So to see where you at now, this was supposed to happen. So
absolutely.
Definitely a fan of it, man. But listen, before we get out of here, tell everybody where they can reach you at, all your social media, emails, and stuff like that.
Well, the biggest place to reach me at this point is through my food page. It's England's Eatery on Instagram. At England's Eatery on Instagram. It's an open page. You know, and when I do put out stuff about books and all of that, I basically do it on my Facebook page, which is author Aisha Linnea. That's author AISHA LINNEA. And the same for my Instagram, Aisha_Linnea. That's my personal Instagram that I do book releases on. But everything, you know, in terms of food, whatever the case may be, that's on my food page. And like I said, I am going to make this segue to start doing book releases and all that stuff at my space. And that's going to be at England's Eatery.
There you have it, folks. That's my big sis right there, Aisha Linnea. I'm so proud of her, man. This has been another episode of Unapologetic at the Table. My name is Elijah Foreman. And y'all know what we do on the way out. We always got to remind each other, you're not supposed to be sorry for being great. I'm great. Aisha's great. And so are you.
Right.
I need y'all to remember that on the way out. I'll see you guys next time. Take care. There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Another episode down. Plenty more to come. I appreciate you for taking the time out to come hang out with me. And I'm looking forward to seeing you next time. Take care.